It's pretty commonplace for YouTubers to unlist old or irrelevant videos that they no longer want displayed on their channel. But do you ever wish you could see behind the embarrassing curtain of a YouTuber's privatized or unlisted video collection? I mean, what secrets are these people hiding from us? I have a few unlisted videos myself. To be fair, it's mostly just because the videos are boring, irrelevant, or my mic sucks because it was a long time ago. Oh, look here, I just had 200 odd hours on this one. I was so young and naive. But the unlisted video I really want to talk about is this one. At this time, I had just gotten to Champ 1, and I remember getting tons of comments about how bad my gameplay looked and that Champ 1s were so much better on EU servers. To see for myself, I switched regions and played a bunch of games on EU servers and then compared the results to my NA games. Now, there are some very obvious problems with this video. The main one is I sound like I'm about to fall asleep.
Between those two, EU has historically had more winning teams in major tournaments.
Maybe that was a stylistic choice to sound bored or something. I really don't know. Secondly, I only did 10 games, which is a pretty small sample size. And third, I played on EU servers from home, so I had a ton of ping. Oh god, I just remembered the nail in the coffin though. I said in this video that this was one of the best goals I'd ever scored at the time. Keep in mind, this is 2 years ago, but still, that's a massive yikes. I ended up concluding that there was no significant difference in the toughness of champion opponents on EU versus NA servers. I also remember finding that the NA servers were way more toxic though. But as the video became more outdated, it was clear I needed to put it down. RIP EU champs versus NA champs, one of the cringiest SunlessKhan videos of all time. You know what though? The concept isn't that bad, it's just the execution. If I was gonna redo this test the right way, I'd need to double the amount of games, for sure. Maybe do some more detailed analysis with like a third-party data site. Oh yeah, I'd probably also need to go to Europe to get the full EU server experience as well. I wonder if I did this experiment the right way, my results would be different, almost 2 years later. Only one way to find out. So I embarked across the Atlantic Ocean to find the answers I was looking for. I searched far and wide across the UK, looking for a place to play Rocket League and conduct my test. We're on the wrong side of the road! Oh my god! Not the wrong side. A different side. We went to castles and seashores, over mountains and across rivers, but still we could not find any gamers. So we wandered north until we came to the land the Romans called Caledonia. The land of William Wallace, Scrubkilla, and Johnny Boy, Scotland. And that's when I realized the place to conduct my experiment was right under my nose the whole time.
Hey,
what are you doing in Scotland?
Don't worry about it. Can I just use your computer to play some Rocket League quick?
Yeah, sure.
I need to play like 20 games.
Yeah,
Is that fine?
Yeah.
Now that I was ready to play on EU servers, I needed to blend in with my European comrades. And thus, SunlessKhan the First was born. My objective? Step 1. Play 20 games. Step 2. Note the general play style, skill level, and toxicity levels of players I encounter. Step 3. Travel home and gather a sample of 20 replays played at a similar rank on NA servers. Step 4. Analyze the data using ballchasing.com and calculated.gg to compare in-depth stats like field position, demos, and boost usage. I gripped my controller, selected Europe, and searched for my first game. Here is where I would usually say something like, my experiment was underway and things were going okay. But I can't say that because things were not going okay. It was pretty bad at first. I was playing terribly, and I lost my first 3 games. To make matters worse, I had D-ranked to Champ 2 before this trip, and so now I was even further in the hole. Did I try to push away the thoughts of how depressing it is that in almost 2 years I've gone from Champ 1 all the way to Champ 2? Yes. Was I successful? No, but Rocket League is all about perseverance. If you compare yourself to other people and focus on your rank too much as I do, you'll rob yourself of all the fun. I didn't come all this way just to tank in Johnny Boy's living room. I was determined to succeed. My teammates, however, were determined to lose as much as possible. That made me feel really comfortable though, since it was just like what I was used to at home in North America. I started to regain some ground and win some games, and things were finally turning around. In fact, I even started to actually have some fun, which is a sensation I haven't experienced too much this season. Before I knew it, I was halfway through the test and excited for more games. Despite losing my first 3, I turned it around and finished my first 10 games at 5-5. I had never been so happy with mediocrity. Now I was finally shaking off the dust of not playing for 5 days and starting to heat up a little bit, winning 7 of my next 10 games, bringing my 20-game record to 12-8. When I got home 5 days later, I carried this momentum and quickly gained back Champ 3. My Rocket League therapist is going to be thrilled to hear this news. But now it's time to see the data. Was I forced to change my playstyle over here across the pond, or was it pretty much the same? I could just look at base stats like goals, assists, saves, and stuff, but I wanted to go deeper now that we have the technology. First, I uploaded my 20 replays to ballchasing.com, which allowed me to group the replays and look at my combined stats across those 20 games, as well as some extra data that you can't find in-game. Next, I used calculated.gg to download a somewhat random selection of 20 of my replays from the past few weeks. I used Bacchus Mod to automatically upload every replay here, so I don't have them clogging up my in-game replay folder. I made sure to select games where I was still Champ 2 at the time, so they would be roughly the same MMR as my EU games. So now, let's see what I found. My average score of 517 was pretty similar to my NA average score of 505, so not a huge difference in performance from me. On average, I scored about 0.05 more goals and took a few more shots, but pretty much the same there in terms of offense. I was actually a little lower on the assist department though, and the same thing with saves. Demo-wise, it looks like I demoed my opponents a little bit more on EU servers, but again, it's pretty close. I also got demoed a little bit more. Defense-wise, I conceded fewer goals on EU servers and also allowed fewer shots. In terms of speed, it was pretty much exactly the same. I'm not sure what this unit means, 1524. I don't know if that's unreal units per second or something, but it's some kind of measurement of speed. I trust ball chasing. The point is really similar, 1524 and 1527. I played at pretty much the same pace. Boost usage per minute, again, pretty similar. It looks like I used a little more boost on NA servers. The biggest discrepancy is probably my positioning. On NA servers, I typically am in the defensive third of the field 48% of the time, where on EU servers, I was in the defensive third a little less, playing more aggressively. You can also see that mild change in aggression in the stolen big boost pads, which means I was in the attacking third, stealing boost a little bit more than usual. Again, really close though. And looking at this data, it's pretty clear that I didn't really play that differently, winning the same amount of games. EU opponents, NA opponents, doesn't really matter. The biggest difference I noticed was the toxicity level. It's interesting how things have shifted in 2 years, because I distinctly remember there being not as much toxicity on EU servers 2 years ago, but that was not the case now. This 20-game night was riddled with toxicity, and I was really enjoying it. It was hilarious. I've noticed that on EU servers, they're much less passive and more straightforward about it. And they also seem a little more sensitive to bumps and demos, which again was hilarious. I also had a 6-minute overtime in one of my games, which was pretty nerve-wracking. Eventually lost it, but it was still a great game. Overall, I had some really bad plays and definitely choked a couple times, but during my session I also had some decent plays as well. In conclusion, there were ups and downs. There were fun games and salty games. There were good teammates and bad teammates. There were great moments and there were terrible moments. There was toxicity, there was wholesomeness, there were GGs, and there were BGs. Perfectly balanced in the full 20-game experience. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I traveled thousands of miles to Europe only to conclude that EU and NA servers are still pretty much exactly the same. At least I got to see some cool castles and eat beans on toast. I'd say overall that made it worth it. Maybe to get a truly different experience, I need to go a little further next time. Nah. Now go play some Rocket League. The video's been over for like a minute. You could have been fully tilted and crying halfway into a game by now.